Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video I am going to be talking about how majority of Christians would laugh in Jesus' face if he would say to them what he had to someone. And I'll be covering that in this video. But before I get into that, I had seen a question that a person asked to me, and you'll see that here. And it's something that I'll start this off with. And what you'll see is, I know it's typical for people to use you as a short for YOU, but the letter U is not the same as YOU. It is a lazy aspect. And it irks me to no end. Because it's one, are you that lazy that typing the YO is difficult? This is something I see quite a bit, and it irks me. But they're asking about Psalm 49 verse 7. And I guess Christians would say it's not a law, and you have to read it in full context. Their idea of context is laughable because the majority of Christians have no clue how to get the context of something. Hell, I've heard even some try to say you have to read the entire Bible to get the context, which is horseshit. Because if you want to be technical, every book of the Bible is a book in and of itself. It is not the whole fucking thing, because it's termed 66 books. At most, if you want to try to say you have to read the entire book, you would have to read the entire, all of Psalms. That's not the case. That's not how you get the context of a story. Because it should be within the chapter that you're in. Because otherwise, why not have the context of something in one chapter? But a lot of times you don't even have to read one full chapter, because a chapter can contain multiple thoughts. But one thing I have that does help break down this particular is the JPS, which is the Jewish version. But it is in English, so Mark has poo-pooed the JPS as well as the KJV. But Psalms 49 verse 7, and before I get into that, I want to show you, here's in the JPS. And one of the things you will notice, let me just make this bigger so you can clearly see it. Psalms 49 verse 7 in the Jewish is called Psalms 49 verse 8. And in order to understand why that is in the first verse, that the Jewish Bible, for whatever reason, has what is verse 1 broken into two verses. Because if you check that same thing in the King James, what I note is they have in bold and black what would be verse 1 in the JPS. And then the other part is a continuation of verse 1 in the KJV. But other than that, that's the number difference. But basically where it really establishes is in verse 4 in the KJV or verse 5 in the Jewish. And it says, I will incline mine ear to a parable, and I will open my dark saying upon this harp, or upon the harp. And it's talking about pretty much, wherefore should I fear in the days of evil, when the iniquity of my supplanters compriseth me about, of them that trust in their wealth, and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches. No man can by any means redeem his brother, nor give God a ransom for him. Pretty much you can't buy your way out of it. However, one of the things and it is the same pretty much wording in the KJV, but one thing that's different is in verse 8 or verse 9 in the Jewish, for it says there, for it is too costly. For too costly is the redemption of their soul, and must be let alone forever. And whereas in the KJV, for the redemption of their soul is precious, and ceaseth forever. I would say it does seem to, that can be taken in a much different way than to say pretty much you can't buy matters there. However, one thing I did look up was in the aspect of ransom. And for that, you will see down here, and let me just bring that up a little bit, properly to cover, literally a village, as in cover in. The one thing I think is interesting is we have bribe. And an easy way to search for something is the aspect of ransom. And you can make it real easy and just have it Gospels. Because you see there's two different occurrences where Jesus makes this same claim of even the Son of Man has come not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life as a ransom for many. And just to check this, now it's Greek, so it would be potentially a bit different. But this has even atonement, the ransom. You can't buy. Because the thing that Christians don't want to acknowledge with the aspect of the idea that even when they say Jesus paid the price, what they are doing is equating him dying on the cross to paying for, in a symbolic sense, their actions. However, you are still having a type of bribe. You are still trying to be bought out of what you did. That is why it is immoral, Christians. You can't sidestep and be Psalms 49:7 is talking about money. No, it's talking about a bribe in any. It does not limit it to money. Just because you want to try and act like a bribe has to be money, it doesn't. You can bribe someone with sex. You can bribe someone with possessions, objects. It doesn't matter. A bribe is a bribe is a bribe. If you are paying someone off, you could bribe someone with a Coke if that's what they really want. Or you could even, for those that are into drugs, you could bribe someone with drugs. You can bribe someone with anything. And that is where what Jesus is saying in this shit is trying to bribe the God. And it is immoral. You can't do it. The reason this matters is it's not just in Psalms 49:7. That's just one of the places where it is mentioned. There is another, Proverbs 17:15 also correlates with this in the aspect of trying to justify the wicked. He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord. Both of them. You can't have someone that is innocent condemned. It's immoral. It screams there's something wrong with this picture. There is also Ezekiel 18, and I find it interesting that Ezekiel 18:20 Christians love to quote because of the first 7 words. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. But they stop there. They don't want to read the rest of it. They just want to see that one verse or that one brief section in that one verse. They don't want to read all of Ezekiel 18:20. Fuck the context for them. They don't give a fuck about the context. They just want to see that little bit. And to them, that's all you need. No, Christians, it's not. Because what follows it? The Son shall not bear the iniquity of the Father, neither shall the Father bear the iniquity of the Son. Right there kills original sin. Right there. Because you cannot pass on the iniquity or sin of the father to the child, which means the actions of Adam and Eve would not have been passed on to anyone else. So fuck your original sin. It doesn't exist. And that does correlate with a difference between Judaism and Christianity. Christianity teaches that everyone is born condemned. Judaism says a child is born innocent. Isn't that interesting? Christianity has a child from the womb, from the moment they're born, they're condemned. Judaism, that child's innocent. They haven't done anything. You can't condemn a child because of something that happened before they were born. They didn't do it. That's immoral. It's downright evil to try and condemn someone for something they didn't even do. But the righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Let's check the next verse. But if the wicked will turn from all the sins that he hath committed, and keep my statutes, and do what is lawful and right, he shall surely live, he shall not die. Completely. The ending of verse 21 gives a way out for the first part of verse 20. However, the condition in there was not a Jesus, was not what someone else did, but it is all about the person turning from what they did and obeying the law. Pretty much be a decent, good person. Obey the law. Do what is right. Don't be an asshole. This is not hard. You don't need a scapegoat. You don't need someone to pay for you. You can't. As I've said before, The raped woman remains raped. The molested child remains molested. The murdered person remains dead. Just because you babble words to a Jesus doesn't mean that you can wash away what you did. Because there's something else I want you to see. This was somebody else that had posted one comment, and I typically get stuff like this. But this is another reason why the you thing irks the fuck out of me. This person is an absolute moron. Because look at what, I don't even know what the fuck UVL go to hell. What the fuck is that? Seriously, I have no idea what VL is supposed to be. This is why, and HV, is that supposed to be have? HV, what the fuck? Do they have a problem with vowels? The thing is, notice their name, Blessy. And then at the bottom of this, and I'm assuming that was supposed to be were. If you were in front of me, and they stop. That really, it's like, what are you, go ahead, threaten me. You've already done it. The aspect of trying to tell me I'm going to be tortured in some kind of hell. And what they really want is the keep your mouth shut. Yeah, that's what these Christians hate. They want to try and silence me because they can't stand the fact that I will rub their ignorant nose in their Bible. They would be much happier with atheists that never touch the Bible, that refuse to touch the Bible because it doesn't prove anything. It rips apart what they're saying. That's why I use the Bible. It is the best weapon you have against them, their own book. Or actually the book of the Jews. Because I've had some try saying about, am I Jewish? No, I'm not. I'm more German than Jewish. The thing is, this aspect of basically you can't buy your way out of when you do something wrong. Because what this also, the aspect of sin, it does correlate as well to the aspect of the Ten Commandments don't apply to you unless you're Jewish. And let me address this and show you this real quick, because it's not just about me saying something. I'm about showing you the context of who is being talked about is established in Exodus 20, verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That's who he's talking to. The aspect of who were the ones supposedly led out of Egypt. That would be the Jews or the Israelites. So, that's who he's talking to. That's who this shit pertains to. Because the other 7 laws that I had mentioned, and Mark and I talked about it briefly the last time, is termed the laws of Noah. And they're similar in some ways. Don't kill, don't steal. Pretty much don't be cheating on your spouse. Pretty much don't be an asshole. But there is the aspect of believing in a God, to which I'm... If a God wants me to believe it exists, prove it. I'm a skeptic and an atheist. I want proof. I demand proof. If you're especially with the God of the Bible, Because the God of the Bible doesn't have faith. The God of the Bible wants proof that you're going to do what you're supposed to do. So, if the God wants proof, why the fuck can't I? I'm not about trying to trust anything. No, I don't trust in that regard. No. You prove it. But what this also comes down to is the aspect of possessions. And possessions, this is an easy way to find what I'm talking about. And this is where Christians would tell they would laugh in their Jesus face. That or just straight up be, fuck you, Jesus. And this is where the person that was talking to him had said, he saith unto him, which Jesus said, thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy father and mother, hacha hacha rodi-do. And the young man saith unto him, all of these things have I kept from my youth. What lack I yet? Verse 21, Jesus said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. Next verse. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Like just about every other every American now. Next verse. Then Jesus said unto his disciples, verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter the kingdom of heaven. Compared to people back in the first century, nearly everyone in the United States is rich. Even if you are, to use the term, poor by our society standards, in comparison to somebody, even somebody from a poor third world country, even the most poor person in this country is rich. Rich and poor are relative terms. It depends on what context you're using it in. Because it's same with the aspect of something's cheap. It's a relative term. Cheap to who? Something that Donald Trump might think of as cheap, I might look at as that's really fucking expensive. It all depends on how much money do you have. Basically, what's your piss away money? How much do you have that you can look at it and go, no, I can throw it away and it doesn't matter to me. It won't matter. It's inconsequential. The thing is, that amount would differ from person to person, depending on where they're at in the social economic ladder. But, and I am not advocating that anyone do the stupid bullshit that Jesus is saying. Because the thing to note with all of this is Jesus was very much about socialism. In governmental terms, Jesus would be a socialist. Let's be clear on that. Because one of the things when I was looking at this, the aspect of possessions, I want you to see something. And it's Acts chapter 2, verse 45. Or actually started verse 44. And all that believed were together and had things in common, and sold their possessions and goods, and parted them to all men as they had a need. And they continued daily with one another, breaking bread, hacha hacha rodi-do, communal living, socialism. Christians, let's be clear. Do you want socialism? Do you support socialism? Because there are some that could have said socialism is a half step to communism, that it leads into that type of thinking. But Jesus was definitely a socialist. He was not about freedom, individual freedom. It was a communal living type of environment. You wouldn't have your own house under Jesus standards. Hell, you wouldn't even have a house because that's a possession. Remember, we can go back to, and it's also in Mark 10. Because it's a little bit different in Mark 10:21, because there is this bit of bullshit tossed in there. Take up the cross and follow me. The reason someone took up a cross was they took it up to die. And in this, I would say, yeah, Jesus knew he was going to die because of the stupid bullshit that he had said. Basically claiming to be the king of Israel. You're not. And that was a very stupid thing to say in a time when it would have been seen as trying to rise against Rome. Because Christians, that's what Messiah means. Anointed one. Someone that is anointed king of Israel. That's why it could have been put up to mock him, the aspect of king of the Jews, because he wasn't king of the Jews. He never was. There were kings of Israel for a period of time. King David, King Solomon. Jesus was not one of them. He was never anointed king. He's not king. It's just that simple. The king of Israel is not something that you can just arbitrarily pronounce yourself. The thing is, this whole notion of sell what you have and give it to the poor, it is the stupidest thing in the world to say. And the reason it is stupid is if you sell everything you have, and you give that money to the poor, yeah, you'll help the poor for a little bit. But if you are someone that owns a business, that has wealth, you would help more people in a longer, broader scale by being able to create companies that could employ people, that would give them an income, a regular weekly income, as well as to be able to provide a service for the community and in the long term. The solution Jesus was offering was, it equates to, if you give someone a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach someone to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Jesus was about right now. He didn't think in the big, grand scheme of things. He was a fucking retard. He was only looking at what was right in front of his stupid face. The thing is, having money is not a bad thing. The extreme that Christian preachers go to, of literally, and I've heard TV evangelists do this, literally bragging to their congregation about, you people bought me a plane, ha ha ha, I want a bigger one. And these dumbass people go for it because they think that this person's a man of God. No, they're not. These fucking jackasses live like fucking rock stars. I would be willing to bet they don't believe in a God. let alone a Jesus, because they sure as fuck would tell this Jesus to piss off with his sell all your possessions and give it to the poor. It's offensive what these TV preachers do, because they're taking money from people that are poor. They're preying on the fact that these people don't have anything, and that all they can do is hope magically something's going to happen. So they give money to these con artists, and then these con artists end up living like fucking royalty, and they don't give two shits about the harm that that person is going to have because of giving money to them. They don't care. But the person that had asked a question to me had also said about, maybe you could talk about John 3:16 and its lies. It's immoral. But I will touch on John 3:16 briefly, because I do want to wrap this up. But John 3:16 won't take me long to cover, because it also correlates with something else that somebody had said, was that Jesus claimed to be the only, and it is here that he gave his only begotten son. Bullshit! The only begotten son? I'll debunk that real quick. You know how, Christians? Sons of God. Exact phrase. Genesis 6:2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men were fair. And then down it's verse 4. It also has when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bare children unto them, all of that shit. Then there's Job 1, that now in the days of Noah, when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord and Satan came among them. There is also Job 2:1, that again there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves. But it gets downright funny when you get into Paul, because Paul says, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are sons of God. So much for Jesus being the only one. And the aspect of begotten, if some would want to try and go there, because this aspect of sons of God, in the entire Bible, it occurs 11 times. The thing is, this aspect of, some Christians may try to go to the word begotten as if that would magically the aspect of born. Jesus could, the aspect of who his father would have been, if it would have been to say that his father was some spooky Casper, who the fuck knows what, he's not the Messiah. The Messiah had to be of the tribe of David. The tribal affiliation is only passed on by bloodline. Bloodline is extremely important in the Bible. That's why you have this begat this, begat this, begat this. That is why you have with Jesus this supposed genealogy, because it is to try and establish bloodline. The Messiah had to be of the bloodline of David, because David was the first king of Israel. To use the term, he was the first Messiah. Messiah, king of Israel. But Messiah does not mean scapegoat, because you can't buy your way out of something. If you harm someone else, you can't buy your way out of it. This is the immoral nature of Christianity. This is why John 3:16 is utterly immoral, and it is thought crime. Because this aspect of God sent the Son not into the world to condemn it, but through him might be saved. No, absolutely not. You can't do that. You can't buy your way out of it, Christians. You fuckers can't get away from this aspect of, I want to buy my way out of it. I don't want to have to be responsible for my actions. You're immoral bastards. Or if you're female, you're an immoral bitch. The truth of the matter is, Christians refuse, utterly refuse, to take personal responsibility for their actions. Their attitude towards personal responsibility is, fuck you, I have Jesus. I have my bribe for God. Woohoo! Jesus, go ahead, bribe them. Never mind the fact that that can't be done. You can't get away with what you've done that easy. It doesn't work that way. The thing is, verse 18 is where it really gets diabolical. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already. That's thought crime. That is the epitome of tyranny. You can't get any more tyrannical than that. This is why Jesus was an evil bastard. Christians are evil bastards or bitches. And as I have said, if the God of the Bible, the God of this shit, if the God of this shit would be real, Christianity is wrong. If the God of this shit is not real, Christianity is wrong. Either way, Christianity is wrong. Because if the God of this shit is real, then the ones that would be right and the ones you would have to consider is Judaism. Not Islam, because they came about after Muhammad was after Jesus, and the stories that the Muslims try to take are from, to use the term, this shit under the JPS and so forth, the Jewish version. They want to try and take it because with that, let's be clear, the word Allah simply means God. That's all it is. It's not the name of another deity. It is Arabic for God. Don't be stupid. They're trying to play a bit of a shell game with you. The thing is, if the God of this shit would be real, it would be Judaism. Judaism would be what you'd have to consider. And I'm not advocating people adopt Judaism, because then you'd have to be basically adopting the 613 laws as opposed to the 7 laws of Noah. If you really want 606 more, okay, fine. But be aware, among those laws and statutes is the advocating of genocide. Yeah. You should really look up the 613 laws. They're quite disgusting. And they're quite redundant in that. But this aspect of John 3:16, and it does tie in with Psalms 49:7, because it's all about Christians are trying to bribe their way out. They don't want to accept personal responsibility. Personal responsibility is, I guess it's a bad word in Christianity. Being a responsible person, it's just not the way they like to operate. They want to be able to have their scapegoat. Life doesn't work that way. Morality doesn't work that way. But, like I've said, there are many things, many ways that Jesus was a fucking idiot. And his saying, sell everything you have and give it to the poor, in this I established exactly how short-sighted that is. Because you do far more to help people by having a business to where they can, somewhere they can work, have a regular income. You help more people in a broader scale, not following what Jesus said. If you follow what Jesus said, you would help somebody for a day, maybe two, maybe a week at most. But then after that, you're fucked and so are they. Which means you're stupid. Jesus was stupid. So if you have a brain in your skull, you would go, fuck you, Jesus. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But I hope that establishes very well. Don't listen to Jesus. He was a bloomin' idiot. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.